Well, here we go again. So, just really quick though, before I get into this, I'm gonna be start after this review. I'm gonna start pre-recording my reviews for Halloween month. So after this review, so I don't know, maybe you'll see me with clean shaven, with or without the beard, and I'll be wearing a different Halloween themed shirt. So for the review, so now, may I review with the maybe a couple with the beard, then some of the rest of it will be without the beard. So just letting you know if you see any differences though. But after this review, I'm gonna be recording my reviews for Halloween month. But on that aside, now get into this and why I say here I go again because I'm probably just repeating this. I'm just probably repeating the same old spiel about another superhero movie like I saw when it came out. So, and I've said it the time and time again. I've said it time and time again what I feel about superhero movies nowadays. So we are just here today. I'll be reviewing of the last of the superhero movies of this year. I think it is Fantastic Four First Steps. You know, just it's just funny that people, when I reviewed the new Superman movie, some people were giving me shit, Well, because the why do you see what some people say why don't go see them though, or why do you keep going to the theaters to see them. And this is how this is in the comics. I'm like, first of all, number one, these comments, whoever people are free to send me whatever they want, to leave me whatever they want in the comments, you know, and they're free to just say whatever they want in the comments, But the thing is you just even listen wherever if they want to. Well, first of all, if you don't like what I have to say, don't watch me then, though. And second of all, I don't care if you leave your little hate comments because I don't care because they don't bother me. And number two, I'm no comment expert. I never said I was. If something I don't know that's in the comics, I admit to it. And some people were giving me crap right about the whole Supergirl thing. I never read the comics. I never read her story. All I know is that she's Superman's cousin. That's all I know. So I don't know the whole thing about the drunk and the red suns and all that stuff. I don't know because I'm no comic book expert. And people say, "Oh, stop go seeing super movies." First of all, I go to theaters because it's my hobby. I like going to the movie theaters. It's one of my few things I can. It's one of my few escapisms. Where I can just be free to do enjoy my little things of life. So I've seen tons of good films. I've seen tons of bad films in the theater. So you're not gonna get me to stop going to see movies because of what you say. Okay. So feel free to leave what you say in the comments because you think you're trying to get to me, you're not. Okay. The comments don't bother me, and I'm no comp expert, and I'm not gonna stop enjoying my hobby because of that. Okay. I've seen lots of bad films in the theater. I've seen a lot of good films in the theater. I'm not gonna change that. Okay. So all that aside, if I made my point across, okay. But not everybody's bad. Okay, a lot of more the regulars who watch my videos leave positive comments. So which that is nice too. So so but anyway, getting back into the task at hand though. And like I said before, I've said the same thing about how I'm burned out in superhero movies. Like I said, I know I'm beating a dead horse. I know that. But it's just bears repeat because the numbers don't lie. It's not just me. People are seeing the signs of superhero fatigue. The superhero movies of this year have sucked, both especially box office wise. None of the superhero movies this year are billion-dollar movies. They barely crossed 600 million. Like Superman, it just barely crossed 600 million, but it's still just a teensy bit below Man of Steel. But probably by the end of this weekend, it probably will. But that's nothing to run home about because it didn't live up. Superman did not live up to the hype people thought it was. It didn't. Box office wise, it didn't live up to the hype. The other superhero movies, the Marvel ones like Thunderbolts, Captain America: Brave New World, and this movie, people were hyped about the new Fantastic Four film. It didn't live up to the hype either. It overall made what the last time I checked, it was like 475 million worldwide. It's probably got more than by the time this video is up though, but last time I checked, it was like 407 million worldwide. That's nothing. That's not the hype it didn't live up to either. Like I said, Deadpool Wolverine lived up to the hype because people were looking forward to the chemistry between Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, and Deadpool's Ryan Reynolds. And the banter between those two had in that movie, like I said, that's what made the film work. That's why people wanted to go see that movie because of the such that all the years all the years people have been waiting for. But this year, superhero movies have sucked, box office wise, and to me, movie wise as well. I don't like Thunderbolts. I don't like Captain America: Brave New World. I don't like the Superman movie. My opinion, if that's not clear to you. And I did not like this movie either. I did not like Fantastic Four: First Steps. I did not. Okay? So this film didn't to me. This film failed to me, and also to the people as well because it didn't live up to the hype like Superman box office wise. Okay? Yeah, it got positive reviews from critics, but that doesn't mean it didn't reach to high box office numbers. And the only billion dollar movie this year had was the Lilo and Stitch remake, and that film sucked. Gotta do that sometime down the road too. But that film sucked anyway. Like I said, this year has been complete and utter shit. This year it has been. It's one of the worst I've seen. I've reviewed lots of bad films this year. There's gonna be more down the line too. Especially there's gonna be a few more I'm gonna review for Halloween month. So, hey, for Halloween, just ahead of time, there's gonna be more rants for Halloween month. There's gonna be quite a few for this year. I mean, for Halloween month, October. So beware in advance. Not just the new films this year of rants, but there's gonna be more rants this year because, there's like one horror film that's gonna be in the October month of my reviews, and I surprisingly I enjoy that. So look forward to that. Anyway, just getting to all this, I know I'm almost 10 minutes in, but my game thing. The film to me it was boring, and once again over 2 hours, like every other superhero movie has to be over 2 hours. Okay, that's the thing. It was just boring. That's all the playing with it was boring. Yeah, I'm great. You didn't have to. You already showed the or didn't you didn't have to show the whole origin story how they became the Fantastic Four. They already pretty much skipped all that though. And to me, I liked. And also really quick, I like the 2005 Fantastic Four film. To me, that's the best one. So the sequel, Rise of Silver Surfer, not a fan of though. But would I watch that than this? I would. Except for Galactus. That'd be one of the positives I could say about this movie. I'll get to the positives afterwards. Galactus. Um, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna give me shit for this. I know my brother. If people are gonna give me shit beforehand, my brother already beat you to it. He thinks I'm already full of shit already because I told us I'm one of the few people that did not mind the 2015 Fantastic Four movie. I'm one of the very, I don't know, like count one hand of people who did not mind the 2015 Fantastic Four film. I didn't. I thought it was kind of a little bit different. It did like a little different, a little more of a darker, like the darker tone of the movie, and it was more like a body horror movie in a way. Like if Doctor Doom, like killing Tim Blake Nelson, which ironically plays the leader in Brave New World, but makes his head explode, and he's making all these bunch of other people's heads explode. I'm like, oh shit, That's kind of a different thing I've seen from Doctor Doom in film wise. The guy, Doctor Doom is actually a little bit more brutal. He's actually making blowing up people's heads like it's a horror movie. Okay, oh shit. And I did not mind Miles Tiller, which Rooster from Top Gun Maverick later on. And I like Kate Mara. I do buy her more as Sue Storm more than Jessica Alba. That's one of the negatives that I say about the Fantastic Four movies previously. I don't like Jessica Alba, so I bought Kate Mara more in that movie than Jessica Alba did. But yeah, I'm one of the few people that did not mind the 2015 movie. If the director wanted to do what he wanted to do instead of the studio interfering, probably would have turned out been different though. But no, studio kept on dicking around with the director, interfering. Didn't make the movie he wanted to do, and look what happened. So, but this film, and people are gonna shit on me probably more because I'd rather watch the 2015 Fantastic Four more than this movie. I know, sue me, sue me. But this film, okay, start with the cast. Pedro Pascal, he needs to stop acting for a bit, okay? He's another one of those actors that I'm getting sick and tired of seeing. Okay, like Bill Skarsgård, he starts being everywhere. Was another actor I'm getting tired of seeing. But same thing with Pedro Pascal. I enjoy him as the Mandalorian. I do. Okay, I enjoy him as the Mandalorian. And yes, I have not seen the Last of Us series, which he started and he got a lot of praise for. I have not seen that series, but the Mandalorian I did not mind him in the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent with Nicolas Cage, where he played as himself. Him bonding with Nicolas Cage, having that bromance. I did like that in that I did like that movie, so and him too. But he's just got start appearing in everything nowadays. Gladiator 2. I'm surprised he did not been cast in that horror movie Weapons that critics are gushing over about. Because originally he was gonna be in Weapons, but instead it was Josh Brolin, which I like Josh Brolin. I do like Josh Brolin more than Pedro Pascal. So yeah, I'd rather have Josh Brolin than his starring in that movie than Pedro Pascal. So I'm glad it was Josh Brolin in that movie. Because I think Josh Brolin's a much better actor. But listen, Pedro Pascal, I like him as the Mandalorian. Here he was awful as Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. He was an awful Mr. Fantastic. Mis miscast. Even my brother and my dad said that he did not look fit the role. He did not fit the Reed Richards character. He didn't. That's another one that my brother agree with me. Yeah, he just didn't feel like Mr. Fantastic. Now, the first guy who played Mr. Fantastic, I can't butcher his name up. And Jack Greg. Yeah, I'm sorry. He was Mr. Fantastic. He was much better as Mr. Fantastic. I would say even Miles Tiller I thought bought more as Mr. Fantastic. But the first guy for the 2005 and 2007 films, he was Mr. Fantastic. He was much better. He did a good job of that. Not Pedro Pascal. He was awful in this. The guy who plays Ben Grimm. The guy who plays Ben Grimm, aka The Thing. Okay. Michael Chiklis, he was much better. I thought Michael Chiklis was much better as The Thing. Because I thought he had bought like more of a heart to the character. And I do prefer a practical suit. I will say the little change I'll give to this newer Thing, the look of the Thing, that they did with the eyebrows, right? That's one thing that the Michael Chiklis thing was lacking, was no eyebrows. Because I'm sure people will say, "Oh, he didn't have eyebrows in the movie." Here he does. So I do like the little change, but CGI. But of course, they probably wear the green suit, and generate the character. But the guy who plays Ben Grimm, like the voice of him, he was just sounded very wooden to me. He did. So yeah, he was pretty much a dull thing in my opinion. Because even more changes to characters, like I get of course you saw in the trailer he has a beard, which I'm like, so if it's a rock, he's made out of rock, he grows a beard still. It just looked awful on that. I didn't buy like the whole thing just growing a beard on the thing. I didn't. But then the guy who played Johnny Storm, which he and Pedro Pascal also started together and previously in Gladiator 2, really enough. The guy who played Johnny Storm, I thought he was fine. He was not the awful the bunch, so I think he did fine as Johnny Storm. Of course, I would say Chris Evans was much better, though, of course. But I would say the best of the Fantastic Four was Vanessa Kirby, who played Sue Storm. Vanessa Kirby, I think she did a good job as Sue Storm, Invisible Woman. I think she did a good job, and I would still say I would prefer her than over Jessica Alba. To me, she was the best part of the bunch. And Vanessa Kirby, last time I remember she played Jason Statham's sister in the Fast and Furious spinoff Hobbs and Shaw. So that's why last time I saw her in. So I think here she did a good job in this film. So positives: Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, yes. Now, other positives, I would say I like the look of Galactus. At least they at least one people would agree with that they corrected the mistake they did in the second film from 2007, where he was in just about a cloud. Although when he showed Saturn, we saw his silhouette of his helmet. So, but still, he was a cloud still mostly. So at least they fixed that problem, and I like the look of the look of Galactus. That's how he should look. Um, I think the guy was a Ralph Ensign who voices Galactus. I think he did a decent job as well. Other puzzles, I like the whole setting look of this retrospective, futuristic looking type of '60s era of the film of this era. I do like the production, the settings of this '60s kind of futuristic style of this universe, because it takes place in the MCU, but it's in a different reality. That's what people probably don't get though, because yeah, it takes place in a different reality in the MCU, which explains at the ending of Thunderbolts they come from a different dimension where they enter the MC the universe that we know in the MCU, which I thought the case which I thought it was the case that they couldn't save their world, or they did the self sacrifice and they jumped in their ship and went into the main universe of the MCU. But I guess I was wrong on that, because it has to deal with Doctor Doom. Because spoilers, well, people have probably seen this by now, but after the credits, after Kate, I was gonna say Kate Mara. Sorry, I meant not the 2015 Invisible Woman. Vanessa Kirby. She steps out for a second. She comes back because by this time Franklin Richards, the son, was a bit older, and she comes back. She sees a guy in a green cloak wearing the metal mask, and that's Doctor Doom, Robert Downey. You don't see it's Robert Downey Jr.'s face, but that's supposedly maybe that's him, but it could have just been a guy. But if it's Robert Downey Jr., you just don't see his face. Doctor Doom comes in, so it has to do so. But except for Avengers Doomsday, he's the reason why the Fantastic Four has to go to the main MCU, the sacred timeline, because of him, and by the time when the Thunderbolts see them on their screen, see their ship on the screen right at the end of Thunderbolts, that's going to be setting up probably for Avengers Doomsday for their appearance. So, but I was the positives. Like I said, I was about to say I like the whole look of the movie where it looks like those whole '60s style, futuristic style, And that's pretty much where the positives end. Like the setting, Vanessa Kirby, the look of Galactus. Maybe the guy who played Joesph said he was fine. He was not bad. And that's pretty much about it. I said Pedro Pascal's awful. The Thing character was dull. It was a boring movie. At least they had to show the whole origin. I will say, okay, they didn't show the whole origin because we already saw that already twice in two different movies. And it shows them a little montage of them like doing these fights. When they fight the Mole Man, which is played by Paul Walter Hauser, who played Richard Jewell from Clint Eastwood's movie Richard Jewell. He played Richard Jewell. He's the Mole Man, and the Mole Man character, he was underdeveloped in this movie because it's clearly that they film stuff and they cut with him more stuff with him and they cut shit out. Clearly, I can see that because they fight him for briefly, then he appears a couple more times, like I think on Congress or whatever, and then the Vanessa Kirby invites him to their place, and then takes the rest of the civilians underground. That's pretty much about it. So clearly there was more to his character that was cut out. And also couldn't cut out John Malkovich was supposed to be in this as Red Ghost because Red Ghost had this experiment with apes, right? And we do see a fight with the Fantastic Four fighting one of his was it an orangutan it looked like? And they mentioned Red Ghost's name, but they cut John Malkovich out entirely. And the director is like, "Oh, it was so heartbreaking. He could not be in it." Whatever. You saw John Malkovich in the very first teaser when it came out. You saw him for one scene with the long hair, but he's cut out entirely, which is too bad because I like John Malkovich as an actor, so it sucked that they cut him out. I mean, just like the limited Mole Man's rollout. And you see the fight with the Mole Man, like that giant green creature that mimics the very first Fantastic Four cover. So they mimic that. And so after that, you know, the Fantastic Four are accepted. People like them. I mean, people like the Thing pretty quickly because, unlike in the 2005 film, where he was kind of like they treated him more like a freak, but here everyone likes him now because he have fans, and one guy keeps saying, like in the trailer, "What time is it?" I'm not gonna say it. So, one thing leads to another. After all those fights, Vanessa Kirby Sue Storm is pregnant, which later becomes the son, Franklin Richards. So then the Silver Surfer comes in, played by Julie. What was her name? Julia Gardner. Which this year she starred in 3 movies. I mean, first one was Wolfman, and then the second one after this was Weapons. Yeah, Weapons with the one with Josh Brolin. Julia Gardner. And yes, I know in the comics, this Silver Surfer was the wife of Nornrad, aka the Silver Surfer. Nornrad had a wife, which in one comic, that the wife of Nornrad, aka Silver Surfer, she would become the Silver Surfer. So I know that much, okay. But there was some people were outraged because it's a female Silver Surfer instead of the other one we got. Yeah. People make changes they change things all the time. But the CGI of her as the Silver Surfer looks awful. I mean, The silver looks bad. I mean, it just looked better on the T1000. If you remember T1000 from T2 back in 1991, when you see Robert Patrick and like when he's forming himself in the silver in his form in the human form looking, that looks much better than the silver in here. I mean, Julia Garner. I mean, she was not that good as Silver Surfer anyway. But just that's sad when a film from 1991 effects from 1991 looks better than your movie that had like over because the budget for Terminator 2 was not 100 million, let alone 200 million. Well, like unlike this film did, because this one cost like 200 plus. So if you take in marketing and stuff, that'd probably be close to like 300, and it made like over 200 something million worldwide in the U.S. and then 475 million the last time I saw it. Probably changed until then, but until worldwide. So if you take on a budget of 200 plus probably like 100 million for marketing, that's not good. That's not good. That's pretty much a flop. I'm pretty sure the experts won't call it a flop though, but in my book, the numbers speak for itself. So, where's I at? Yeah, I was saying the Silver Surfer did not look good, and Julia Garner was not a good Silver Surfer. But sometimes I think her lip sync when she says words, it didn't match. It just looked off kilter when she speaks. I think the mouthing it just looked off. This is me. Maybe I'm seeing things. She says that Galactus is coming, and so the four of them they're gonna go on their ship and go see Galactus. Try to talk, and so they go to the ship. They meet with Galactus, which Galactus looks good. Looks cool. He looks good enough. Okay. He sensed that Vanessa Kirby is pregnant, and that the child carries a lot of cosmic energy. So makes a deal. Hey, give me your child. I'll continue to feed off him. That way, I'll never feed off any other plants ever again, and including your world will be safe. She says no. They fight for a little bit. It's not much. I mean, Johnny gets fight with Silver Surfer a bit. But they manage to get into their ship and they take off. And so, but then there was a trap pretty much, and they are leading pretty much into a black hole. And while at the same time, Sue Storm, Vanessa Kirby, she's about to give birth. So one thing leads to another, she does, and Franklin Richards is born. And they manage to come down. They come back to Earth. People, the press is there waiting. What's the result? Are we safe? Like in the trailer. And he says, I don't know. Reed Richards does. And again, what is this with making Mr. Fantastic sound so stupid? Because in Multiverse of Madness, John Krasinski plays Mr. Fantastic, which I rather have. They would have brought him back instead of Pedro Pascal. I know it's a different it's a different version. I get it, but I'd rather have John Krasinski than Pedro Pascal. But as I was saying, what is it with making Mr. Fantastic so stupid? Because I would say in Multiverse of Madness, John Krasinski opens his mouth and to Elizabeth Olsen, the Scarlet Witch, and says, "Hey, Black Bolt can destroy you with one whisper from his mouth." And she goes and says, "What mouth?" So Mr. Fantastic, if he didn't say that in the first place, that would not have happened. So that just makes Mr. Fantastic sound so dumb. And here, and he says, what happened? Because people are wondering what happened with Galactus, you know? And he says, well, he would not attack our planet if we give him our child. So he goes to stupidly says this, and what makes you think was going to happen? People are going to be outraged. You know, people are going to be very outraged, and they'll start to despise them. You know. So I don't know why was the deal making Mr. Fantastic. This guy's supposed to be a genius, but yet they make him sound so stupid. So, so after all that, Sue Storm takes the kid out. Now, in the real world, people would probably jump on her and dogpile her and take the kid away. I'm pretty sure that's what happened in a reality, but she says some things. Hey, he's a human being, pretty much like I am, and she says a couple words, and then all people are forgiven. So they had to come with a plan. So Reed Richards gets the bright idea to teleport the whole planet. So they set up these monitors or whatever all over the world to create enough energy or portals, whatever, to move Earth from one place to another. So while it's going on, Johnny Storm deciphers the message from these violent records, and so. But it turns out they're not just messages, but people screaming from other planets when they're being killed by Galactus, and this is for the Silver Surfer. And so their planets try to lure Galactus out to this one spot and impact the energy, to zap him, basically. Drain of his energy. But that doesn't work because Silver Surfer was destroying some of them, so the whole thing fails. And so um this one's losing my brain. Just give me a second here. I'm trying to remember. Which I don't blame if anyone doesn't like this film. um Okay, so yeah, the portals get destroyed. Galactus comes. He's walking to the street. And that's one thing in the comics. Yeah, they'll probably say he wasn't that ginormic though, but he was big enough where he can walk through the streets. And all three of the guys get their asses kicked. Thing, Johnny Storm, Mr. Fantastic, all three of them get their asses kicked. Because once again, because Sue Storm has to come and push Galactus in, and then eventually the Silver Surfer has to push Galactus into the portal to another dimension, to another part of the galaxy, far away. So once again, no, you being sexist. I'm calling as I see it, okay? Because once again it shows us the guys are dumb, and then the woman has to save the day. I mean, we saw that like in the scene where in Avengers Endgame where all the women have to get together, or with the whole the Marvels, which that film failed, and I mean, like I said, I like there's characters that are women that are strong. I do. Ellen Ripley, for example, from Aliens, or Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor from Terminator. So don't start giving me that though. But just I could tell that they just said I just tell they just put that stuff in there, because women are so to show that women are so strong, and it makes men look like dumb, I mean, and my friends so I'm like, yeah, okay, not again. So, but anyway, she's pushing so hard. Sue Storm is almost to the point, and then Silver Surfer has to come in, pushes Galactus all the way in. They both get sucked into the portal. Sue Storm dies, but their baby Franklin Richards, they set him on top of her, uses his cosmic powers to revive her. So, and then their world is safe. So, and that's one thing I don't Not only that, I thought it was a boring film. The music sucked in this movie, and yeah, I did get annoyed by the whole Fantastic Four, Fantastic Four. It was at the point I was kind of getting, at the point was kind of getting annoyed by it, but yeah. So the music sucked in this movie. So after the credits, after when Sue Storm, like I said, after when Sue Storm walks away and some time has passed and Franklin's a little bit older, she comes back and there's the guy, there's Doctor Doom in the green cloak and wearing his holding his metal mask. So that's gonna lead to Doomsday. And eventually it's gonna some point where it's gonna lead where eventually they take their rocket and end up in the sacred timeline, the main universe of the MCU. Like I care though, okay? Because I don't give a shit about Avengers Doomsday. I already talked about it, okay? I don't give a shit about Doomsday. I don't. This film was a boring film. The only like I said like is that the music sucked in this film. The like I said, 2 hour once again over 2 hours. But now I will say, like I said before, positives. Right? I do like the look of the movie, how the whole '60s retro futuristic look, the futuristic '60s look of the movie. The settings I like it. I like it in. I do like the production of that. Um, I think Vanessa Kirby. I think she did a good job as Sue Storm. I did. She was the best of the bunch. I think the guy who played Johnny Storm. I think he was all. I think he. I think he did fine as well. But I just think that Chris Evans is obviously still better. um, but I think Vanessa Kirby it was a better Sue Storm than Jessica Alba. Um, I liked Galactus's design. That's what Galactus should look like. Although my dad was saying that the only thing he was missing was the big G, the logo, the letter G that he always that Galactus had. That was the nitpick he had, except for the G. But Ross, I still like Galactus. That's what Galactus look. I'm glad we got the look of Galactus compared to the 2007 sequel, Rise of the Silver Surfer. We was just a cloud, which made fans rage quit. So I'm sure people will be satisfied with this. I think that Ralph Ensign, who voiced Galactus, did fine as well. But Pedro Pascal, he was a horrible Mr. Fantastic. The Thing was a boring character. Not much, Like I said, Michael Chiklis, he carried the heart of the Thing. Yeah, except for the eyebrows they could have done though. But I do like the look. I will say that though, like I said, I do like the look of the Thing though. While he was to me, he was a boring character, but I did like the look and make it more like the comic version of the Thing with the eyebrows, but except for the beard looks stupid. But the guy who voiced Ben Grimm, I thought he was, and so the Mole Man Paul Walter Hauser was underdeveloped because clearly there was a lot of stuff that was of him that was cut out of it, clearly. So he was seriously underdeveloped. It's too bad that John Malkovich he got cut out, but the action was boring. It wasn't much action in the movie. But if it wasn't all that too impressive to me. It's like this typical thing: a giant person destroying cities, giant or not a person, but a giant something, you know, destroying cities, trying to, or bring the end of the world. We've seen it all before. It wasn't nothing special. But and the whole thing of making Mr. Fantastic sound so stupid. Just if he blatantly says, "Oh, we want our child, but we said no." What do you think a lot of people were gonna react to? You know, well, I don't know what's making Mr. Fantastic so stupid. He blatantly gives Black Bolt his power away for Scarlet Witch. What mouth? In Doctor Strange 2. stupid, you know. And yeah, I wish that rather the John Krasinski would have come back as Mr. Fantastic instead of Pedro Pascal. I'd rather have him than him. Or I mean, if Chris Evans came back as Johnny Storm in Deadpool or Wolverine, I'd rather have Ian Goffrey. Joffrey. I always mispronounce his last name, but I'd rather have him as back as the first as the first Mr. Fantastic. So, but yeah, it was just like I said. One thing how I said before again about superhero movies. I'm just so tired of them, burnt out of them. And like I said, this film did not live up to the hype. It didn't make as much money that people thought it would. Just like with Superman or the Thunderbolts or Captain America. To me, this year's superhero films failed. You know, the Minecraft movie, which I don't like, made more money. The highest one of this year was the Lilo and Stitch remake, and I hated that film. That's the only $1 billion movie. You know, it's just I know I just people are just getting tired of superhero movies. You know, the numbers are there. You see it on the numbers. These superhero films did not do as well as people thought it would, despite all the anticipation, all the hype. You know, so now what I say, which is the best superhero film you can say? If I want to say technically, okay, maybe I'll put this one above all the rest. If it makes anybody happy, I'll say this. Okay, I'll say the Fantastic Four movie. I'll probably say is the best one I've seen this year, but that ain't saying much because to me the film still sucked. And by the way, if I didn't mention, it's directed by Michael Shakman. This is the guy who directed the WandaVision series, which I did not like at all. So I already knew this film was gonna suck from the beginning because I did not like WandaVision at all. I hated all the TV shows, the Marvel TV shows that came out. Especially, I ranted on Winter Soldier and Falcon. That show sucked big time. I did not like WandaVision. I hated the Secret Invasion. She Hulk absolutely was the worst. I don't care about Loki. I don't care about Loki either. Okay. Yeah, I like Tom Hiddleston, but I just don't care about the show. Okay. Because this is why Marvel has gone down the shitter for a long time now. Yeah, except for I keep saying except for Deadpool Wolverine. That's one thing they got right so far. But like I said, the whole superhero genre altogether, whether it's Marvel, DC, all together, they just need to take like a 10-year break and just go the fuck away. You know, take a 10-year break, and maybe by the time people will get excited for more superhero movies by then. You know, but yeah, just all the things I've said about the film. So, but with that said, though, thanks for watching and stay tuned for more. We'll see you next time. And I know, just and like, hey, if you want to leave shitty comments, please go ahead. Like I said, you're not gonna bother. You think you're gonna get to me by what they were with the comments? Like people to me in the Superman comments. I'm gonna just, I'm saying, hey, go ahead. I'm better say if you don't like what I have to say, then don't watch me though. But I said, oh please feel free to leave your comments, however the way you want, how you want to word it though, positive or negative. But I'm not gonna I don't let negative comments bother me at all. Like I said, I'm no comic book expert. I never said I was. I'm not one of the. It's like I'm not one of those people who think, oh, I'm an expert because I've read the comics. Which in reality, they probably read like a few comic books and they're an expert already. That's those type of people I just don't like. I can't stand. Like at least I'm admitting I am no expert in comics. I know a lot. I know some of the stories from a lot of characters from the Marvel comics. Not DC though much, but except mainly for Batman and Superman though. But I don't rate every single comic book. I'm no expert at all. So, but and also oh, really quick, just want to say, I think Robert Downey Jr. is gonna suck as Doomsday. I'm sorry. I think that Julian Mackin Mac 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 McCanahan Who to me he's the only Doomsday. He's the only Doctor Doom there is. Rest in peace to him. Who recently passed away earlier this year. Rest in peace to Julian. To me, he is the one only Doctor Doom. I thought the guy who from the 2015 film did not do that bad. Like I said, it was cool that he was blowing up people's heads. Like it was some body horror movie. That made me go, "Oh shit!" I didn't expect that. But I think that the Julian McIntyre, I think he's the best Doctor Doom. I'd rather watch. I know. Also, the thing is, I'd rather love to watch the unfinished Fantastic Four movie from the '90s. You know, the documentary Doomed. The unfinished Fantastic Four movie. I rather if it was, I'd rather watch that movie than this movie. Because at least that's interesting now how bad that movie was made. But I'd rather watch that movie. But yeah, but that's like I said, my opinion. But anyway, that's Fantastic Four First Steps. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more. We'll see you next time. And like I said before, after this review, I'm going to be start recording my Halloween October movie reviews. So, like I said, maybe I'll record some with the beard, or then probably see without the beard. Though, it's just let you know. Oh, the changes. So I'm just letting you know, though. So maybe some with a beard, then eventually maybe without the beard. But so I hope you look forward to those, though. But thanks for watching. We'll take care. We'll see you next time. Later.